everyone, my name is Jason, aka Bacon Chest, coach of the St Kilda Superiors. Welcome to Week 11 of the MLBA Season 3, where this week we're going up against Zilix, and I don't remember their team name because I didn't write it down, so I'm really sorry, Zilix. No, hang on, it is the Detroit Torracats. So, going up against Zilix and the Detroit Torracats, we are 5-4, potentially 6-4, depending on forfeits, going into this week, needing to pick up at least one more win to potentially put us in playoff contention. I think, yeah, we're going to need at least 7 wins to guarantee playoffs, and I want 8 wins. I want to win out from this point, and, you know, pick up that divisional championship, and then, well, pick up that divisional first place. But first we're going to have to get through Zilix, and Zilix being one of the GBA analysts, so, you know, certainly has some idea what he's doing, and has quite an interesting team. So we're looking at Mega Lopunny, Zapdos, Empoleon, Amoonguss, Gardevoir, Crocodile, Emboar, Zygarde 10, Frostlass, Gastrodon, Armaldo, and Swabloon. Didn't note down Z users for this one, but I know that fairly certain Crocodile, Emboar, Zygarde 10 may have been the Z users, with maybe like another one mixed in there somewhere, maybe one of the lower tier ones. But anyway, this team is interesting. It's got the Mega Lopunny, which is obviously a huge threat, and like it's so fast, so powerful. It's got Zapdos, which is a really, really big defensive problem, and even something like Gardevoir is potentially an issue for my team. I don't really have good Psychic plus Fairy switch-ins, and yeah, potential for Spike Stack with Frostlass, and obviously Frostlass. I don't necessarily expect the Frostlass just because it doesn't beat my Spinner, being Blastoise, so I don't really expect to see that from my opponent, but yeah, so I was feeling okay about this matchup going in, generally, just because, yeah, I didn't necessarily expect the Spike Stack. I thought that my opponent had, yeah, like Crocodile, Emboar, Emboar especially. I don't really have good switch-ins. I mean, no one has good switch-ins for Emboar. Emboar is amazing. I've actually drafted it in another league. I'm really, really happy about that. So hopefully we'll be able to put in some work with it. But anyway, let's get into the team builder. So, first mod on my team was Tornadus T. Tornadus T with enough speed for a Jolly Crocodile, Acrobatics, Superpower, U-Turn, Toxic. If you look down my opponent's roster, Acrobatics hits the Mega Lopunny, Superpower hits the Empoleon, Acrobatics hits the Amoonguss, hits the Gardevoir super hard, Superpower hits the Crook, Acrobatics hits the Emboar, Acrobatics hits the Zygarde 10 because Zygarde 10 is a piece of paper, Frostlass is also a piece of paper, Gastrodon I can't really hit that hard with Acrobatics, but obviously we do have Toxic, and Gastrodon doesn't really do anything to us aside from fishing for Scald Burns. Acrobatics and Superpower both do a fair bit to Armaldo, and Acrobatics obviously destroys Swabloon. Does Swabloon get Sticky Webs? I imagine Swabloon gets Sticky Webs. I imagine that's the only reason that's there. Otherwise, it's just a complete meme rather than just like mostly a meme. And I don't really expect that to come in this game, frankly. It's a Swabloon, you know. I don't expect to see it. Anyway, the crucial thing here is that the one that I didn't mention was Zapdos, and that's why we have Toxic here, and we have a few different ways of breaking down Zapdos, because if we can break down Zapdos, this thing can just 6-0 my opponent's team, depending on what my opponent brings. My opponent doesn't really have good ways of KOing it. I've got a lot of defense investment, which means we can take hits from things like Mega Lopunny, even things like Emboar and Zygarde, like reasonably well, and yeah, Acrobatics plus Superpower just goes in on my opponent's team. Really, really happy I've finally been able to bring Itemless Acrobatics Tornadus T. It's probably my favorite set for this thing, just because you don't have to rely on Hurricane hitting, and you don't have to rely on Focus Blast hitting. And yeah, it finally matched up really well, and so yeah, we're going to bring it this week, hopefully put in some work. If we can Toxic the Zapdos, and then not get U-turn, not get static parried, that would be really, really nice. So, we then have an Expert Belt, Tapu Koko, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, Calm Mind, U-turn. The basic premise of this set is that my opponent's 2 ground types, being the Zygarde 10 and the Crocodile, are both weak to Dazzling Gleam. So, if we Calm Mind as they switch in, we just kill them with Dazzling Gleam. We have enough defense to the point that we live Extreme Speed from Zygarde, like reasonably well, even if it's banded, and yeah, we can just like blow back my opponent's team. Oh, my opponent does have a third ground type in the form of the Gastrodon, but we can U-turn on that thing. And I don't really expect to see Gastrodon against a team with a Tangrowth, because Tangrowth is just so free on every Gastrodon every single time. But maybe my opponent does bring it, thinking that they are a little bit weak to Koko, which would be fair enough, in which case, you know, we have ways of dealing with that. We've got Toxic on the Taunty, we've got the Tangrowth there. I'm not hugely worried about Gastrodon just because it is so passive. And yeah, that's a pretty self-explanatory set. Aside from that, the speed is to outspeed a Zygarde 10, and that's all we really need, because we don't outspeed Mega Lopunny. Obviously, I think this would also outspeed an Adamant Mega Lopunny if my opponent did decide to bring that. I imagine it would anyway. If I'm going for 115, Mega Lopunny's 135, so maybe not actually. But anyway, I'm not going to stay in on Mega Lopunny, basically. Unless I do tank a return, is the other thing. So yeah, that's actually also the good thing about having Expert Belt, is that Dazzling Gleam with Expert Belt will KO a Mega Lopunny, and we do have enough investment to live a return. So if we're weakened, we're not going to stay in anyway. If we're at full, then we tank a hit anyway, unless my opponent is like probably fake out into return, or definitely fake out into return might have been able to kill me, but you know, we can deal with that as they come. We do have a couple of good Mega Lopunny answers. One really good Mega Lopunny answer, and that's Tangrowth. Tangrowth is our physically defensive wall in this game for the Mega Lopunny, for the Crocodile, and for the Zygarde 10. Hidden Power Ice to do a lot to the Zygarde 10, Giga Drain for recovery, Leech Seed for recovery, Knockoff to hit things like knock berries off of Empoleon or Amoonguss, knock lefties off of Zapdos, and potentially get us static parried. That's actually what we want for Tangrowth, to not get toxic. And also we don't want to get burned by Scalds either. I'd rather have fully powered knockoffs. That's less relevant, but generally I don't want to have the residual damage. I would much rather be paralyzed in this matchup. And knockoff also allows us to hit the Frostlass, which is quite nice. Hidden Power Ice is good because it hits both the Zygarde, the Crocodile. We can obviously Giga Drain, but it also hits the Amoonguss for a little bit of damage, which is nice, because if we can get a little bit of damage off the Amoonguss, that can potentially put us in a position to also win. That is my opponent's response to Tapu Koko, right, is the Amoonguss. That's something I didn't mention with Tapu Koko, but it's really important, in that my opponent's one response to Tornadus is Zapdos. My opponent's one response, really, to Tapu Koko, given that I could obviously run Grass Knot, potentially even Grass MZ, and just destroy any form of Gastrodon, is the Amoonguss. So if we can get chip damage off on those things, we can potentially clean up. Obviously, the good thing is that Tornadus destroys the Amoonguss, and Tapu Koko does a lot of damage to Zapdos, particularly if I Calm Mind, and I can freely Calm Mind on a Zapdos because it doesn't really get anything to hit us very hard. Those two are my win conditions, and they support each other really, really well in this game. And the rest of the team is basically geared to helping them punch through either the Amoonguss or the Zapdos and then clean up the game. So we then have a Choice Scarf Infernape. This is here because with a Choice Scarf and this amount of speed, we outspeed, once again, Jolly Crocodile, so we can lead off against a Crocodile and not fear anything. We can just click U-turn straight away, go out into Tangrowth. If he stays in, that probably tells me he's either Scarf or a Chople Berry, and if he switches out, then, you know, we know that he's not either of those things. And the good thing about this set is, obviously, we'll probably be intimidated. We'll know if he's intimidated or Moxie, before we even click a move. So that's good too. The other cool thing that this set does is Scarf Muck Punch outspeeds Mega Lopunny's Quick Attack, which is really, really handy, because if I've taken a bit of chip damage, then Fake Out into Quick Attack can potentially kill me, and my opponent might think in a 1v1 matchup late in the game that that's a thing that they can do, but they will click Fake Out, they will do a bit of damage, and then I will be able to click Mark Punch and hopefully knock them out, depending on if they've taken chip damage, with the Mark Punch after that. So that's really, really nice. The other thing is we do have Blaze here over Iron Fist, even though we are running the Mark Punch, just because I do think there's a reasonable likelihood Infernape ends up in Blaze range by the end of this game. And then it can potentially punch through my opponent's team, because my opponent doesn't have particularly good fire switch-ins. Empoleon is neutral to fire, Emboar is not that bulky, Gastrodon, once again, we have ways of playing around Gastrodon, so I'm not too worried about that either. And I just really don't expect it to come, to be honest. I just don't think it's like I don't think it's that good of a mon. Defensive mons with 4x weaknesses that like are so sort of passive in terms of being able to actually throw out hits. Just not a huge fan personally. So yeah, and then other than that, it's just U-turn, close combat, flare blitz, pretty standard stuff. We then have the Salamence. This is D-Dance, Dragonclaw, Outrage, Earthquake with Dragonium Z. As you can see, we are walled by Gardevoir. Well, not really. Like, we have Earthquake. Earthquake is still going to do a lot of damage to a Gardevoir, particularly at +1. But, as I said last week when I was talking, well, not last week, this will be going up like, you know, hours after our previous video. But as I said in my video, talking about our matchup against Loosey Goosey, is that I don't expect my opponent to initially switch a Fairy into a Dragon that can obviously run Iron Tail and just blow my opponent back, or even I could be running Supersonic Sky Strike, obviously, and that will also blow my opponent back. And I've already explained how my opponent doesn't have particularly good flying switch-in, so Supersonic Sky Strike would be reasonably obvious. So, what we're actually running is Dragonium Z, because I expect that my opponent's switch-in to this mon is going to be Zapdos. I think that Zapdos is going to be my opponent's defensive glue in this game, and I've already explained that I want to blow back that Zapdos so that Tornadus can clean up. So this is here to break, this isn't here to sweep. The speed allows us to, after a Dragonance, outspeed a Mega Lopunny. That's the reason why we have Intimidate is also because we're trying to break, not to sweep, so it means we can switch in on the Mega Lopunny. The other thing that this mon does, and it's a bit weird, is that it's our defensive response to Emboar. We don't have a switch-in to Emboar on this team. If you look, I don't have a Flare Blitz switch-in, aside from Mega Tyranitar, which obviously doesn't want to take a fighting move of any kind. So yeah, this is actually our response to that as well. But yeah, +1 Dragonium Z Outrage is going to destroy any variant of Zapdos, and, you know, if, like, we are in a position where we can sweep, sure, that'd be great, but I don't really expect it against this team. But yeah, we can also, like, things like Zygarde 10, like Banded Zygarde 10 that's locked into E-Speed, we can set up all over that. You know, once we get the Intimidate drop, we can threaten out, oh yeah, we can, I believe after an Intimidate, we might tank an Ice Punch from a Mega Lopunny. I'm not 100% sure about that. Like, we do have a lot of HP investment, so potentially, I don't know. Have played this game, like, over a week ago now, so I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, yeah, basically this thing's here to lure in Zapdos, break it down with the Dragonium Z Outrage, and then win with Tornadus. Or the other thing Dragonium Z Outrage can do is potentially break through the Amoonguss, which allows us to win with Tapu Koko. Last up, we have Mega Tyranitar, Stealth Rocks, Crunch, Stone Edge, Superpower. This is our most reliable rocker that we can bring in this game. Metagross wasn't great, just because my opponent does have the Emboar, the Crocodile, and Zygarde 10, all of which are a real problem for that thing. And obviously, like, all three of those also hit Mega Tyranitar super effectively, right? But the crucial thing is that Crook and Zygarde 10 are only hitting me, I guess the crucial thing there is more the fact that we can KO them back, so they can't necessarily switch in on us, where, like, Crook can really switch in on a Metagross pretty effectively. But we do have Superpower on this Mega Tyranitar, and, you know, our monstrous attack stat and our monstrous HP and defense stats means we can tank hits from those things. The other thing that this thing does is it hits Empoleon, it gets sand damage off on things like Zapdos, which is quite nice. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I own this over Metagross. Maybe I was just a bit sick of having Metagross on my team every single week. The other cool thing is with the speed tier is that we're kind of luring potentially something like the Emboar. If my opponent does elect to run a really fat Emboar, like max HP, max attack, then we will outspeed this. Obviously, we outspeed it naturally, and if he's speed creeping for a minimum speed Mega Tyranitar, then we will outspeed that. So that's kind of nice, and yeah, otherwise we get up. Oh, the other thing that this thing does that Metagross doesn't do as well is it's a pretty good response to the Zapdos, is the other thing. Zapdos and Frostlass. Which is nice. Yeah, no, I think actually Frostlass may have been the main reason, is actually just so that we had like a really easy switch into that thing. So yeah, that's about it. So let's get into the game. So as you can see, my opponent elects to bring the Crocodile, the Zapdos, the Amoonguss, the Gardevoir, the Mega Lopunny, and the Emboar. So, Emboar, Gardevoir, Mega Lopunny being the sort of more offensive threats, I feel, and then Crocodile, Zapdos, Amoonguss kind of being the defensive core. with probably Gardevoir and Crook being the ones that could be swapped there. They could be either offensive or defensive on both of them. But Zapdos and Amoonguss are definitely my targets here in terms of trying to break those things down. So I'm going to lead off with Infernape, as I said, in the team builder, because I have a free U-turn here. So I'm just going to, I believe, click that straight off the bat. No. Oh, that's right. I go for close combat just in case my opponent, for some reason, did think to stay in. I'm just trying to think if there was another reason to go for close combat there. Yeah, I think just I didn't want to overpredict because I didn't really have that many switch-ins to Mega Lopunny, particularly because I want Tangrowth to be healthy for the Crocodile. So I'm just going to go into T-Tar here on the Zapdos as my opponent gets a Toxic off on me. I'm really not too fussed about that, to be honest. I would much prefer that to a U-turn or a Volt Switch, which were pretty free in that situation. But maybe my opponent doesn't have those moves, I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, I'm just going to get up Stealth Rocks, I believe, here. Yeah, we're just going to throw up those rocks because that allows us to, given we've already got close combat damage off on the Zapdos, so that Zapdos is going to be really weak, in particular if it comes in the next couple of turns on sand, and otherwise rocks are going to be getting damage off on things. So I'm just going to go straight into Tangrowth as my opponent goes for a bulk up on the Crocodile. So this is not a Scarf Crook, so that's really useful information for my Tapu Koko, which is good, and also for things like my Salamence, potentially, as well. Oh, and my Tornadus, actually, in particular. So this thing's not outspeeding that. I can just click a free Giga Drain here. There's nothing that a +1 Crook is really doing to me in this situation. So I do kind of expect the... Oh no, I didn't expect the Amoonguss. I just went for the safe Giga Drain, just in case my opponent was like Z Aerial Ace or something, I guess. Or Z Poison Jab. I assume it gets Poison Jab. Most things get Poison Jab. As I'm just going to click the HP Ice, because that's actually really good just to... Oh no, I clicked the knockoff. Okay, hang on, I'm going to slow down a bit, just to like think through my plays a bit more, like think through how I was thinking about this game. I think I clicked HP Ice at some point. Anyway, I clicked the knockoff on the outgoing Amoonguss because if I could knock off the Black Sludge from the Amoonguss, that'd be really good for cleaning up with Tapu Koko. If I can knock off the incoming Zapdos, then I can get rid of their leftovers, and that's going to be really good for my Tornadus. My opponent is either going to click Defog or Roost here, so I get a free Leech Seed, because Heat Wave, yeah, my opponent could have clicked it, it would have done a fair bit of damage, but it's not going to kill me. I know that this is defensive Zapdos at this point, so yeah, that's kind of fine. And like, I could obviously, up till that point, have been Assault Vest, because I hadn't clicked a utility move. So we're now able to get the Zapdos down to 34. Even after a Roost, my opponent's only going to be at like 75. So I'm going to go straight into Tapu Koko here, because this is a free Calm Mind if I ever saw one. Because my opponent's now going to be back down at 72. So yeah, 72% Zapdos, that's pretty good. We've been able to get a little bit of chip off on that, so that's nice. I just go straight for the Calm Mind. The way that my opponent brings in the Crocodile, with me knowing he's not Scarf, makes me think that it's a Roselli Berry set, so I do just go straight for the U-turn. And I go out into the Infernape, because now I just threaten with Flare Blitz, and my opponent doesn't have a switch in. As my opponent does elect to go out into the Gardevoir, which is interesting, and I'm thinking, well, I should be able to blow this thing back, and I do 55 and get a burn. 55 tells me this is a very bulky Gardevoir. The burn is really nice because it does show the leftovers, so we're nullifying that. But yeah, my opponent's down to 46, and I'm thinking, cool, I can just click Flare Blitz again as my opponent elects to go into the Crocodile, and that's fine. Even with the Intimidate, we're getting chip damage off on that Crocodile, which puts it in range, as it does show the leftovers, so that was actually really crucial, because I could have just clicked +1 Dazzling Gleam, although obviously my opponent did have the Amoonguss earlier. But yeah, this shows me that this Crocodile cannot stop my Tapu Koko late game, so that's really good. I can just go straight into Tornadus here, as my opponent goes for the knockoff, but I don't have an item. So we take 25 from that, so that's really, really nice. As my opponent goes into the Gardevoir, as I click the Toxic. Yeah, because I was trying to catch the Zapdos coming in. But my opponent does make a good play and goes into the Gardevoir. As I click Toxic again, kind of again expecting the Zapdos, my opponent throws up a Wish, and this is now I'm like, oh, okay, I get what this Gardevoir is trying to do now. I wasn't really sure what set it was up until this point, but yeah, it's a defensive Wish set trying to heal up my opponent's team. So, I like to go for the Acrobatics here, and we miss out on the KO just. I believe that that was a roll, and I'm fairly certain that roll was in my favor, but obviously, if we hadn't have gotten the burn with Flare Blitz, then it wouldn't have been a roll at all. So, you know, I'm not, like, not very salty about that. It kind of balances out. As my opponent does go for a Calm Mind, and gets the Wish back up, and now this Gardevoir's looking like a bit of a threat. But my opponent does elect to switch out here, as I do go for a U-turn. Fortunately, oh no, yeah, so at this point, I think we may have had a couple of chances to get Static Parried earlier in the game, but anyway, we do get Static Parried there. I'm not too worried about that, because we can't get Toxic to now, which is kind of nice. We can't get Sludge Bomb poisoned from an Amoonguss, so that's also kind of nice, and to be honest, we still outspeed things like the Amoonguss, and possibly the Emboar, depending on his set. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, I do go out into this thing, and I'm just going to click Dragon Dance, because if my opponent elects to click HP Ice, I'm not too worried. If my opponent goes for a Roost, potentially expecting like Scarf Outrage, and trying to stall me out, but I've now got the Dragon Dance, and I can just click this +1 Outrage. My opponent is not going to go out into Gardevoir here. It's just not going to happen. You're not going out into a 50% Gardevoir. And yeah, I'm just able to blow back that Zapdos, and things are looking really good for my Tornadus at this point. Even though it's paralyzed, if we can break through the paras, we can potentially clean this game up. So I'm just going to Dragon Dance again on the Crocodile, just so I can get to +1, as my opponent does elect to go for the Bulk Up, and I'm just going to try and chip away at this thing with Dragon Claws. I don't want to go for Outrage, because obviously that invites the Gardevoir in, as we're able to get like 32% off, so that's okay. This Crocodile's just going to be so weakened at the end of this exchange that I'm just really not too worried about it. Obviously, like, we're potentially giving up the chance for a Salamence sweep at the end of the game, but yeah, as I said, I'm just not that worried about that. As we can very easily just bring out Tapu Koko now and just click Dazzling Gleam. And we've now got this Crocodile like severely weakened to the point where it will very easily be in range of a Superpower from our Tornadus. So that's really nice. So yeah, we do click Dazzling Gleam, and just then click the U-turn on the Amoonguss. With the Electric Terrain up, that's really important, because it means he can't click Spore. I don't expect there to be Spore, but yeah, it meant my opponent couldn't click Spore on me. I do go out into my Tornadus, and you see that, yeah, my opponent's able to click Sludge Bomb. That's doing 32, which is just Regenerator recovery. And that's really nice, because they can't power me with the, they can't poison me because I'm already paralyzed. Although you can see that my opponent is taking making really good use of the Trace ability on the Gardevoir to get Regenerator onto the Gardevoir again, which is really clever of them, as I'm able to click Acrobatics a couple of times, do some good damage, but my opponent's going to heal most of that off on the Gardevoir because of the Regenerator, and I do click U-turn there, knowing that I could have lived to hit, I think even a Stone Edge from the Crocodile at that point, and this gives me free Infernape, as we're now able to just click the Flare Blitz again, and that's going to knock out this Crocodile at 28%, so yeah, down goes Crocodile. We've gotten rid of the Croc, we've gotten rid of the Zapdos, and things are looking pretty good for our offensive win cons. We've only lost the Salamence, and Salamence did its job. Infernape comes out, Emboar comes out, and I switch into Mega Tyranitar. Mega Tyranitar doesn't have a huge amount of work to do in this game. My opponent has 2 Fighting types and a Fairy type, and a Grass type out of their 4 Pokemon left, so all of those Pokemon hit me super effectively. Obviously, Amoonguss isn't really a good response to Mega T-Tar, because it does precisely 0 damage, and we do a lot with a with a Max Attack Adamant Crunch or Stone Edge. But the only Emboar set I'm worried about at this point is a Scarf Emboar set. Any other Emboar set is not an issue, because we all we need at that point is damage off on that thing, and then we like kill it with most of our team. So what I was kind of expecting was a Scarf Fire move in this situation, because the issue with going for a fighting move is my opponent's only fighting moves are Superpower and sorry, outside of running like Brick Break, my opponent's only fighting moves are Hammer Arm, Superpower, or Power Up Punch. Power Up Punch isn't going to kill a Mega Tyranitar because it's a Mega Tyranitar. Superpower will lower my opponent's attack and defense, allowing me to revenge with Infernape or Tapu Koko. And Hammer Arm lowers my opponent's speed, allowing me to revenge with, like, anything, pretty much. So, yeah, that was kind of my logic there. as I do go into Torracats as my opponent clicks Flame Charge, and now that's terrifying, because now my opponent can switch up moves. But again, I'm thinking, well, what fighting move are they going to click against me? Because, like, anything is going to either you can't have Hammer Arm, so presumably you have Superpower. And my opponent clicks the Power Up Punch, which is really, really unfortunate for them, because that's going to come nowhere near killing Mega Tyranitar. We do 94% with a Stone Edge, and it dies to the sand damage, so yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing turn. Mega Tyranitar really showing why it is, like, a very underrated Mega, in my opinion. Just the fact that, you know, if you disrespect the Mega Tyranitar and don't run a powerful fighting move, you're not going to be able to take this thing down. And so yeah, we are able to pick up the KO in the Emboar. That's my opponent's last really big offensive threat against my team gone, because Mega Lopunny can't really deal with Tangrowth. Gardevoir can't really deal with Infernape plus Tapu Koko, and Amoonguss isn't an offensive threat, basically. Like, Tornadus and Infernape deal with it really well. So, I'm just going to stay in and click Crunch here, not wanting to miss with Stone Edge, even though it would have done more, and potentially even knocked out that Gardevoir, frankly. Like, hang on, he was down to 15. Like, I knew my opponent was going to click Wish there, but I just wanted to make sure my opponent didn't end up back at, like, 100. If I'd missed Stone Edge, but yeah, if I think about it, Crunch does 160, no, not 160, 120, Stone Edge does 150, so that's 30, that's like 20% more damage. We did 53, 20% more on that would be an extra 12. Oof, yeah, it would have been very, very close to a knockout with Stone Edge, but that's fine, we get Crunch off. Because of Sand and Burn, that's like more than nullifying the leftovers, which is fine. I can click Calm Mind here, expecting the Protect, but my opponent doesn't have the Protect, I don't think, as my opponent goes for their own Calm Mind, and gets the Wish. And yeah, this is now an interesting kind of series of 50-50s, where I kind of expect my opponent to click Wish here, knowing that I'll do around 50%, as they do throw up a Wish, and now I'm definitely expecting Protect, because I'm like, yeah, no, the Protect here is really, really obvious, right? So I do just click... Oh no, I just click T-Bolt, yeah. I just click T-Bolt even though my opponent could have very easily clicked Protect, just because if my opponent does click Protect, we're back in pretty much the same situation. I can easily Calm Mind again, and then... Yeah, like, you know, I was happy to kind of play that game, because... Yeah, Gardevoir was not coming out of that with a lot of health, but my opponent does elect to pass off the Wish to the Amoonguss. That's fine by me, because I can just click a free U-turn. We get a crit, which, you know, doesn't really matter, but we can just go out into Tornadus here, because now my opponent doesn't have a switch in. Gardevoir is so weakened, it's like pretty much dead to anything, as we just get a free kill with Acrobatics here, as long as we don't get parried. If I'd gotten parried here, my opponent does make the really smart play of going into Gardevoir, because it gets the Regenerator and could potentially bring it back to like 35-40%, which could potentially have been useful for example, tanking a Scarf Close Combat from Infernape, and KOing me with a Psychic move. But we don't get parried, so we are able to take down the Gardevoir finally. That was probably the biggest nuisance on my opponent's team. And Tornadus is going to clean up this game, because unless I get parried, because Mega Lopunny just isn't going to do that much. Power Up Punch does 17, and like that didn't really matter. I wasn't really worried about that, because my opponent, like, unless they'd gotten several paras in a row, wasn't going to be an issue, and I could always outspeed with Infernape, and particularly with Infernape's Mach Punch. We do 85 to the Amoonguss as the Amoonguss goes for the Sludge Bomb, and you see that my opponent's now at 22%, I'm at 16%, so I will die to another Sludge Bomb if I do get paralyzed, and I am kind of trying to get as many points of differential as I can at this point. So I did very much consider swapping into Infernape, but I think I did the calc, and basically my opponent had, because, yeah, hang on, I think Infernape, yeah, Infernape's at 53.9, I did the calc, and my opponent would do enough damage with Sludge Bomb. It wouldn't kill, but the chance of it crit or poisoning and knocking out the Infernape was very, very high. Like, well, it was like 36%, right? And the chance of me getting parried is a third. So I kind of figured, well, let's go with Tornadus, try and get Tornadus another kill. Tornadus pulls through for me, did not get parried a single time, which is amazing. As we're able to pick up a 4-0 victory in that game against Zilix and the Detroit Torracats. So GG to Zilix. Really fun game. Some really interesting sets with the Bulk Up Crook and the Wish guard, that was actually really, really handy. I think, you know, given I had 2 Regenerator Mons and an Intimidate Mon, like, having that Trace on the Gardevoir was really, really clutch, and really, really a clever bring. But, yeah, we were able to just really break down my opponent's walls with the Tapu Koko, with the Infernape, and with our DD Salamence, and yeah, I think DD Salamance's probably the MVP just for killing off that Zapdos, because that just made our task so much easier in this late game. Particularly Wish Pass into the Zapdos would have been a real problem, because our chip damage from other things wasn't necessarily going to be doing the job. Yeah, Tornado's probably the actual MVP, certainly the flashiest Mon in this matchup. So, that's a GG. We're able to move to 6-4, potentially 7-4, depending on forfeits, going into our final week against Hat of the regular season. Hopefully we can finish up 8-4, pick up a win, pick up revenge over Hat for the 2 previous losses that the Portland Trailblazers have inflicted upon us, and give us some real momentum going into playoffs, because we have kind of been going win-loss, win-loss, win-loss for this last part of the season, even though I do feel better about the team than I did earlier in the season with the transactions that we did make. But yeah, hopefully we can pick up another win going into playoffs, and then hopefully make a deep playoff run, maybe even pick up our first championship for the St. Kilda Superiors. We'll be back next week with those matches, so until next time, peace.